Now listen, no matter what way you slice it, life gets busy, whether it is kind of, always busy, it feels like it's always busy, or you're just going through a particularly busy point in your life. Here are all the ways that you can save yourself hours every single week. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help you live a simpler, happier, more spacious life. And I know for me, like years ago, it felt like my life was busy. I was in college, I was working part-time to try and pay for it, and it just felt very hectic at the time. And moving on from that, now I have a job where I have a little bit more flexibility with my time. The dog is over here going crazy on the carpet. But I also have a daughter and a crazy dog. So life is still busy, just in other ways. But over the years, through all the careers I've had, through all of the college courses that I've taken, I have learned different ways to save myself a lot of time and be more efficient with my time. What are you doing? You crazy pup. Come here. Come here. Come. Say hi. No, you're staying down here. Oh, you're getting off my time. Hello. Hello. I know. The people want to see you. No. Wow, it is super dark today. We've got a storm rolling in, so we're just gonna have to roll with it. Anyway, one of the best things that you can do to save yourself an insane amount of time is to plan your weeks in advance. And as I go throughout this video, I'm going to share different kind of tips and strategies for doing that, to make the most of your plan and really get it to work for you. But planning in advance is going to help you get an overview of what you have to do, what you need to do, what you want to do. It's just going to help you plug in all of those things in a way that flows a bit better. When you have an overview of your week, you'll be better able to manage your time, to spot what needs to go where and maybe what needs to be changed. Planning not only helps you to focus on all of the things that have to get done, because how many times have you gone through the week kind of focusing on things that you wanted to get done and pushing certain tasks off, and then you find you have no time left? Planning really helps to avoid that situation, but also when you have your week planned out, you can schedule in not just the essential things, but also the kind of essential things that you don't even think about, like buffer time, time to rest and recharge. Too many times I have gone through a week or even just a day where it has been like back to back to back because I haven't given myself that buffer time, and I've ended up scrambling trying to fit everything in. And before I come to the end of the day, I'm just exhausted and I just want to throw in the towel. I don't want to do anything else because I haven't given myself a break. And at the end of the day, I start craving it. I just want to throw my to-do list out the window and do nothing. Having a proper plan in advance takes into account all of the things that you have to do, all of the things that you want to do, so that you are making time for those kind of hobbies and crafts and things, but also gives you plenty of time to rest and recharge. That way you're not scrambling, you're not stressed out, you're not wanting to throw in the towel. You can get everything done and still feel energized. So let's talk about how to plan your week to make sure that you're getting the most out of it while expending the least amount of energy and wasting the least amount of time. And the very first thing that you should do, this is critically important if you don't want to be wasting your time, and that is to just cancel anything that is unwanted or unneeded. Before you start slotting things in, you want to make sure that you're only slotting in the things that either need to be there or that you want there, things that you want to do. If you're trying to fit in things that in the grand scheme of things don't need to be done, again, you're just going to be bloating your plan and you're going to be stressing yourself out. So get yourself an overview of the things that you have to do and the things that you want to do this coming week. All of the kind of obligations, responsibilities, events, tasks, appointments, etc. And go through with a fine-tooth comb and pick out the ones that really do not need to be done either this week or maybe not even ever. Maybe you have to cancel or reschedule an appointment. Maybe you have a commitment, some volunteer work or a committee or something, or a class that you've signed up for, in your spare time, a book club, things like that. Do you really still want those taking up your time? Now, if yes, great, we'll find a way to slot it in. But if not, just go ahead and cancel that thing immediately. You do not need to be filling your plan with things that don't need to be done. Time is limited. It is a finite resource, and once you pay for something that you don't want to do, you're not getting that time back. There are no refunds on time. The same way, if you had a limited amount of money, you would be spending that money wisely. You would be budgeting it and only paying for things that you really needed first, and then after that, if you had some wiggle room, you would buy things that you want. But the same is true for your time. First you go for the things that you absolutely need to do, and then you go for the things that you want to do, but you don't throw away your time frivolously. Okay, so you have cancelled all the things that don't need to get done, or you've rescheduled some things for another time, and you're left with the things that do need to get done or that you do want to do. Now it's time to prioritize that list. Some things are going to be more urgent and more important than others. Obviously, you should make time for the things that you actually want to do, but not at the expense of something that absolutely needs to get done. So for all of the things that are left on your list, put them in some form of order. You could just kind of write a number beside them. Maybe 1 is kind of the most important thing, 2 is kind of for things that, yeah, I really should get done. 3 is for all those things that, like, yeah, I would like to do these, I really would. And then 4 is kind of like, if I have some bonus time left over, I will get to these things. Really, you shouldn't have any of those. You should have already cancelled those off your list, but things happen. Nobody's perfect, but order your tasks and events in terms of what needs to get done. Those are the ones you slot in first. Those are going to provide the framework. Those are going to be the foundation of your plan. You want to start with the things that absolutely have to get done. Front load them as much as you can, either early in the week or early in the day, because as the days and the weeks go on, you are inevitably going to be drained of energy and unexpected things are going to crop up, etc. So you want to make sure that the things that are a priority are the things that you are getting to first. I think the reality is you're always going to run out of time. Unexpected things are going to crop up. Some things are going to take longer than you thought you would. Traffic is going to be extra bad on a particular day. So by ensuring that you're getting those essential things done first, then even if you do run out of time, even if something does happen, you've still taken care of the priorities. Then you work your way down the list, slotting in all of the next top priorities and so on down. But let's look at how you can make that list even more efficient, how you can plan your days in a way that is really going to take advantage of your momentum and your energy levels. One of the absolute best ways to do this, and it has really revolutionized how I do things, but that is to batch things, and there are different ways that you can do it. So the first is to batch similar tasks together. So if they're work related, all like admin, for example, that you would have an admin chunk that you would time block your week or a specific chunk of your day. So maybe the morning or the first hour of your day or an hour in the afternoon, whatever way works best for you. And you would knock out all of those similar tasks because you're in that mindset. It's easier to continue on with the same or a similar task instead of switching to a different one that requires a different type of thinking or requires you to go somewhere else. When you stick to the same type of task, you get in the flow, you get in the zone, and it's easier to plow through it so much quicker. But there are other ways to do it too. So maybe they're not exactly similar tasks, but they require the same tools or resources or gear. So for example, I've got my lights and my camera and microphone and stuff all set up right now, so I can record multiple videos, or I can go and take some photographs then, or I can start transferring things from SD cards to my laptop. There are different things that I can do when I have the stuff out, and that way I am not wasting time with setup, because setup and cleanup are very often a huge part of a task. So if you can reduce the number of times you have to set up and clean up, that is a great way to save time. You'd be amazed by how much time you can save just by getting everything done while you have that equipment out. But another great way that you can batch is by area. So while you are in a particular place, a particular setting, get as much done there as you can. A great example, this is probably the one that's going to save you the most time, but that is errands. So instead of going out on a Monday and doing a grocery shop and then going out on a Tuesday and getting your dry cleaning, and then on a Wednesday going to the pharmacy, look ahead, what are all of the errands you need to run, and try and do them all in the same day. So instead of going out and back and out and back and out and back, you're going out, hitting multiple stops along the way, and then coming back. A huge time saver. So look at your list, all the things that you have to do, and batch all of the similar things together, all of the things that require the same type of equipment or gear, and all of the things that are done in a similar space. That way you are going to knock out your list so much faster. Similar to that then, but I do feel it requires its own section because there is a subtle difference, and that is to multiply your tasks, or while you are doing a particular task, to do more of it to save yourself from having to come back and do it later in the week. A really great example of this is meal prepping. So while you are preparing your meal, make extra. It doesn't take that much extra effort, but it saves you from having to cook another meal later in the week. Again, it kind of saves you all of that setup time and that cleanup time afterwards. But you are taking the same task and just doing a little bit more of it, so that you then don't have to do it again later in the week. This is going to save you hours every week, every month, because again, you are not setting things up multiple times during the week and then cleaning up after yourself multiple times a week. While you are in the zone, while you are chopping all of your vegetables, just chop a few more. While you're washing all of your fruits, wash a few more. Have everything ready so that later in the week, you don't have to do that task all over again. So go back to your list of things and ask yourself, what are things here that I could multiply? What are some things that I could do more of in one go so that I don't have to do it again later in the week? What has she done to the pet over here? Anyway, let's talk multitasking, but there is a caveat because there is a right and a wrong way to do it. There have been plenty of studies that have shown that multitasking is really impossible. You are not doing two things at the same time. What you're actually doing is switching very quickly back and forth between multiple tasks. And what that does is essentially drain your mental energy. It might even drain your physical energy if you're going back and forth between two things. You're really not giving your full attention to one thing. You're just giving half of your attention to it. So you're probably going to take longer to do the job, and it's probably not going to be as good a job as you would have done if you had just focused on that one thing. Having said that, there is a way that I have found to multitask and still get the benefit of multitasking, still getting two things done at once without reducing the quality of that thing. That is by pairing an active task with a passive task, or pairing two passive tasks together. As long as one of them is passive, that is a great way to multitask. So let me explain what I mean by that. An active task is something that requires you to do something. There is some kind of effort involved. You have to expend some amount of physical and or mental energy to get that task done. Cleaning, studying, researching, decluttering, recording videos. You have to be somewhat focused and paying attention to get those things done right. On the other hand, passive tasks are things that you can do kind of without too much thought. For example, watching TV. Now, there are two ways you can watch TV. Also, you can watch TV actively, like if you were watching a documentary or, a film that requires you to really concentrate on the storyline. But there are also plenty of TV shows or podcasts or music, songs that you listen to that you're really doing in a very passive way. They don't require a huge amount of thought and effort on your part. Those are the types of things that you can pair with an active task. So for example, I fold clothes while I am watching a TV show, and then I am knocking two things off my list at once. One of them, or both of them really, don't require a huge amount of mental energy. I can kind of do both of them on autopilot to a certain extent. Folding clothes is not something that I need to put a huge amount of concentration and energy into, and same with watching TV. It's not something that I really need to give a huge amount of my attention to. It's just a soap opera. If I miss a few seconds here and there, I'm still going to get the overall gist of what's happening. So look through your list and try and figure out which are the passive tasks and which are the active tasks, and then go ahead and pair a passive task with an active task or a passive task with another passive task. Now, I do want to give you a word of warning here, and if you have followed my previous steps, you should be fine, but I just want to make sure, and that is that the passive tasks, you want to make sure that those are things that you actually want to or have to get done. If you're just doing things kind of for the sake of multitasking, but you don't really want to get that task done, you're not really multitasking at that point. You're not technically ticking two things off your list. You're ticking one thing off your list and then just another random thing that really shouldn't be on your list to begin with. So to get the most out of multitasking, you want to pair your active task with a passive task and make sure that both of those tasks are things that you actually want or need to get done. That way you're actually ticking two things off your list. Now, having said that, another great way to kind of plow through your to-do list and save yourself a ton of time each week is to have someone or something else do the work for you. Hear me out on this one, because you might be thinking, okay, but I can't afford to hire someone or whatever the reason, but there are ways that you can do it for free, essentially. One of them is to just have certain things running in the background. As you are doing tasks, ask yourself, what can I have running in the background? What can I automate so that, you know, that's working for me while I am working on something else? So a good example, something that I do every week, is putting clothes in the washing machine while I go do something else, or putting dishes in the dishwasher and running that while I go do something else. We also have a robot vacuum that, you know, vacuums everything while I am doing something else. And there are services that you can take advantage of too. So delivery services, okay, there might be a small charge on it, but it saves you the time of driving to the store and, you know, filling up your car with all of the stuff and then driving home and unpacking a lot of it. You could have someone deliver that stuff to your door, and it saves you a lot of time and then petrol as well, driving back and forth. Yes, you still have to pick out the things online, but you'd have to do that in the store anyway. If you calculate up how much time you spend commuting to and from stores or different places, how much time you might spend in traffic, finding a parking spot, you know, just getting into the store, all of those types of things really do add up, not just in terms of your time, but in terms of the money that you are spending or the kind of sacrifice that you're making, because while you're doing that, you can't do something else. So what can you have running in the background? What can you have, you know, doing other chores for you while you're working on something else? Or what kind of service could you utilize? And there are bill pay services. You know, if you can automate all of your bills so that you don't have to go in and write a check or manually pay a bill or manually transfer money every month, that's a huge time saver too. You don't think, she's sighing over here, you don't think how much time that takes, but if you add it up over the course of a month, it actually does take a lot of your time. And then there's just pure delegating, you know, asking someone for help, getting the family involved, getting a friend involved, whatever it takes to kind of get everyone to chip in and help you out. Now, obviously you don't want to be just pure taking advantage of people, but if you have a lot on your plate, and, you know, I have a tendency to do this because I'm a perfectionist and I think, you know, I'm the only person who can do this job, or I'm the only person who can do this right. So I tend to kind of take on control and responsibility of everything because I want it done a certain way, but I just can't do everything, and you can't do everything. And sometimes the way I like to think of it is that, okay, you know, such and such a person, my husband, for example, might not be able to do the task to the standard that I would like if I ask him, for example, to clean something, but he can still kind of start the process. He can still get it to a certain point from which, if I still feel that I need to step in, I can kind of take over and just finish off the job, but I can still get someone else to do the foundational stuff for me. So if you're like me and you're thinking, you know, no one else can do the job as well as I can, then let go of the reins a little bit and allow them to kind of make a start on it, or to get you to the halfway point, or to get you, just to make some progress on it so that you don't have to do the entirety of the work yourself. Sometimes this is a case of kind of like training someone up. You might have to invest a little bit of your time up front, but over time they will get better and better at the task. So long term, it really does help. Automate or delegate as much as you can. Here's another one for all my perfectionists. This is a lesson that I have learned the hard way over the years, but I've really kind of persevered with it and it has paid off, and I'm getting better and better. I don't think I'll ever be 100% with it, but I am making progress. That is, and there's kind of no other way to say it other than cut corners. Not everything has to be done perfectly. Not everything has to be done, with a huge attention to detail. Not everything needs to be done to a really high professional standard. Yes, there might be things that you kind of want to do a certain way, but realize that if you're going through a particularly busy period, they don't have to be done that way. You can let it go permanently if possible, or at least just this one. So let me give you an example from my own life. It's kind of a silly example, but it has saved me a huge amount of time. But these days, I wash all of the clothes and towels together. I just throw them all in one load, job done. Now, years ago, I would have separated everything out. I don't even separate colors anymore. Everything goes in, unless it's something brand new that I think there might be some color run. But most of my clothes I've had for a while, they've been washed multiple times, so I know that they are color fast. But yeah, towels, clothes, regardless of size, shape, color, they all go in the machine at one time, and I just do one load of laundry a week. My husband does all the bedclothes. I don't even read labels anymore. Years ago, the perfectionist in me would have been like reading the labels, making sure that, all the clothes that had to be washed at this temperature went in this load, and all the clothes that had to be washed at this temperature would go in a separate load, and, all the different colors would all be separated. No. I don't do that anymore. Same with ironing a lot of clothes now. If they do need to be ironed, most of the time I just pull them out of the dryer and hang them up. They're good to go. But there are some things that do need to be ironed. But if I can get away with it, I will only iron on one side. Usually that's enough to kind of get the other side reasonably wrinkle-free also. If you're cleaning, instead of doing a deep clean, you just focus on the high traffic areas for, a week or two, just until you get back on your feet. So instead of vacuuming the entire room, getting into all of the corners, you just vacuum the spots that you're actually using, the pathways. Same with dusting, instead of getting into all of the nooks and crannies and, all up high and above window frames and door frames and things like that, you just focus, at least for a week or two, on the main visible surfaces. Sometimes, like with the laundry, it's a long-term plan, but sometimes you just need to cut yourself some slack so that you can get over a particularly busy time in your life. Unless you're actually allergic or something, letting a little bit of extra dust build up is worth it to save yourself the stress. Now, to perfectionists, I know it may seem a little panic-inducing to begin with, but I promise you, over time, once you see the benefits, once you see how much time you're saving, how much stress you're saving yourself, it's going to be worth the small sacrifice. This next one is probably one of the biggest ways that I have saved time over the years, and not just time, but stress, hassle, frustration. Cannot recommend it highly enough, and I do talk about it quite often, but with good reason. That is to do a weekly or monthly or just a regular reset. Have one specific day or time of day, a particular afternoon or whatever, that you dedicate just to catching up on certain tasks or doing routine or regular tasks. Let me explain why this is so important, because you might be thinking, okay, but I still have to get that stuff done. So how does doing it on a set schedule save me any sort of time? But here's the thing. Previously, for all of those things that I would need to get done on a regular basis, I was just kind of doing them here and there throughout the week, and they were interrupting the other things that I really needed to get done, or I was leaving them so long that they became really stressful, and then I was trying to scramble to get them done. It's kind of like, stitch in time saves 9, whereas previously I was leaving those things until they really needed to get done, like laundry. And then I was spending hours, maybe even days, trying to catch up and get on top of everything again. And that was incredibly frustrating and stressful for me. And not only that, I expended a huge amount of mental energy trying to remind myself to do those things. You know, I have to get that done. When will I be able to fit it in? Can I do it here? You know, what else can I do? It becomes this very mentally draining thing. Whereas now I have a weekly reset. So every Sunday I do all of the tasks that need to be done on a regular basis. So I go through all of my papers, I will do laundry, I will clean certain things, you know, water the plants, etc. It means mentally I'm not having to think about any of that stuff throughout the week. It frees up a huge amount of mental burden, but it also means that I stay on top of it. Nothing gets completely out of hand to the point that I have to dedicate hours or days to it. Plus, once you get into the routine of doing it, you start to get really quick at it. So every Sunday I can just plow through my list. Now it does still take me a while, but there's a lot on the list. But previously I would kind of hum and haw and try and fit it in here and there, and I would procrastinate on it, and it would just end up being this massive thing. Whereas now I can just bump through my list as quickly as possible, get everything done, get into a good routine, a good rhythm, and knock it all out. So look at your plan for the week and figure out what are the things that you need to do on a regular basis, and then schedule in some kind of catch-up time or a reset time. You can even do both. So sometimes I will set aside a Wednesday afternoon to kind of catch up on things, because inevitably, as I discussed earlier in the video, things crop up unexpectedly, things will get pushed back. So I allow myself a little bit of time midweek to kind of catch up on anything, and that way as the week goes on, I'm not falling further and further behind with things. But then, like I said, on a Sunday, that is my time to catch up on regular things. I'm not trying to squeeze it in during the week. I'm not worrying about it. I'm not stressing about it. I know that it will get done, and because it's part of a regular routine, I can get it done really quickly. I do have another video coming up on my weekly routine plus my monthly routine. There'll be a free download and everything, so make sure that you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that. And let me finish off with a practical one. This saves me untold hours throughout the week, every single week, and that is to switch off autoplay. You can do this in so many different ways and so many different platforms. Social media, Netflix, they're probably the two biggest ones. You know that it autoplays the next episode, or as you're scrolling through your feed, it will autoplay a video, or on YouTube, it will autoplay the next video. You can easily switch that off. Now, depending on the platform, you'll find it in the settings somewhere, or just look it up. You will find a way to do it. It's too easy to get sucked into, you know, watching one more episode and then one more thereafter, or, you know, watching a video, just letting it play and then letting the next one play. Whereas when you switch off that autoplay, then you have to make a conscious decision to watch the next episode or to click play on that video. And more often than not, you won't. Sometimes you will, but sometimes you won't, and you will save yourself hours and hours every week. Figure out how to do it and thank me later. What do you do to save yourself a huge amount of time on a regular basis? And like I said, make sure that you're subscribed so you can catch that upcoming video on my resets. You can also catch up on some previous ones I've done right here. Until then, gur raibh míle maith agaibh, agus feicim mé sibh se go luath. Slán!